A terminally ill woman and her cat navigate the beginning of what would later potentially be the end of humanity. Sound cool? So I'm here to talk about A Quiet Place Day 1 from 2024. So this film was directed by Michael Sarnoski, who also wrote it with the help of John Krasinski and Brian Woods. Now, I'm going to sort of stop right there because I've watched a few reviews of this movie and nobody seems to be really talking about Michael Sarnoski. Now, this is the man that brought us Pig a couple of years ago, and he instantly became a guy that I would forever pay attention to at this point. I mean, Pig remains one of my favorite films of the last 15 years easily, maybe one of my all-time favorites, if I'm being honest. I just can't say enough about it, and you can check out my review if you want. So the point being here is that I'd been waiting to see, what move he makes next, waiting impatiently at that. And when I first heard that he would be working on a Quiet Place prequel, I have to admit that I felt a little bit let down. And not because I dislike the Quiet Place films, because I do like them, but because I wanted to see Sarnoski make another original film, not just a hired gun for existing IPs. That said, though, you can tell he was given a lot of creative control, and I really do think that he makes this movie his own. If you've seen Pig, you'll notice that his fingerprints are all over this, and I really appreciate that. From the camera work to the very emotional vibe and atmosphere. And speaking of the camera work, the cinematography was done by Pat Scola, who worked with Sarnoski on Pig. And honestly, I hope he works with Scola on all of his films going forward. We have a small but very effective cast here, and I wouldn't change a thing. We get Joseph Quinn, we get Djimon Hounsou, and the always amazing Lupita Nyong'o as the lead. We also get Frodo the cat, and an appearance from Alex Wolff, who I was really happy to see here since he was in Pig, and he was so good in it, and I wish he had a bigger role here. But be that as it may, he doesn't. I also wish Djimon Hounsou had more screen time. So the main stars of the show really are Nyong'o, Quinn, and Frodo. Now, like many of you, I'm usually not that excited for any prequel. Sure, sometimes they're good. But more often than not, they just don't typically seem very necessary. They usually seem to spoon feed you a bunch of lore that is just better left a mystery, or they just seem pointless altogether. Sequels aren't always good either, but at least they move the story, forward, rather than going backwards. Every time a prequel is made, the question is, did we need this? And my answer here would be no. We didn't really need this. That said, I think it's a very good movie, and I liked it quite a bit. So the story here takes place in New York City, and I'm guessing like early to mid-2000s. I don't remember it saying exactly what year it was, so I don't think it did. Samira, played by Lupita Nyong'o, she's got an iPod, and she even finds a bar with an iPod dock so she could charge her iPod, which would be incredibly unlikely in 2024. That said, I could be wrong. And Samira is our main character here, and she's great. I first saw Lupita Nyong'o in, the Jordan Peele film Us from 2019, and I thought she was absolutely fantastic. So she's a terminally ill cancer patient here, and she's been given a very narrow time frame as far as, how much life she has left. Basically, not much at all. She lives in like a hospice care center with her companion cat Frodo, like I said, where Ruben, played by Alex Wolff, works as a nurse. Samira and Ruben are friends, and Ruben really cares about Samira, and you feel it. Alex Wolff is a fantastic actor. I love the dude. And he should be an A-lister. At some point, I hope that he becomes one. Knowing about Samira's condition really gives this a somber vibe right from the beginning, really, or as soon as you see her. And this is kind of a Michael Sarnoski trademark so far. But what I appreciate about his approach is that his work always seems to have like an underlying layer of positivity. Yes, things are bad, but they can get better. Samira does her best to stay strong, even though, she knows she's been living on borrowed time. Sure, she's a bit jaded, but who wouldn't be? Ruben talks her into going to a local show. It's like a marionette show. It's really cool, actually. With the condition that they on her terms anyways, that they get pizza while they're in the city. And after the show, as they get back on the bus to head back, is where things get really serious and really fast. You see some type of meteors crashing down, which seems to be holding large monstrous type aliens that cause nothing but pure destruction. And you see a lot more of them this time around compared to the other films. They rampage through the city, just killing anyone that they can. And it really just seems to be their sole purpose for existing. And who knows, maybe it is. For a prequel, you really don't know that much about them. And that's kind of one of my complaints. The reason for prequels is usually to give you a backstory, and explain things that the other films don't. My guess is that the humans just simply don't know anything about them. And the attacks came so quick that I don't think scientists ever got the chance to even study these aliens. So I guess you can justify it that way. All that people have managed to learn is that these aliens are blind, and therefore have a super keen sense of smell and well, I don't know, a sense of hearing, I think, not smell. Maybe both, I don't know. They're blind. We also learn about the aliens' food source, which is some kind of like feathery fruit that they brought here with them. They don't eat humans. If you notice, and if you've seen the other two films, they kill people and they stomp them and shit, but they don't seem to ever eat them. At least not that you see on camera. So that's. I hope you don't think that's a spoiler of any sort. It really isn't. It has almost nothing to do with the rest of the film. You see one scene where they eat these fruit things, and that's it. And I mean, as minor of a detail as that is, that's really all we learn about them that we didn't know before. I was kind of baffled, to be honest. I don't know how they keep a continual food source, by the way, because if you've seen part 1 and part 2, these aliens seem to be here to stay. They don't seem to be traveling back to wherever they came from. I don't think they even can. So while trying to survive, Samira and Frodo meet Eric, played by Joseph Quinn. He does a great job. I really liked him. I was not previously familiar with him at all. And Eric is originally from England, and he's in New York to go to college. I can't remember what for, but anyways, law school, I think. So he's not your action hero type at all, male lead, He's just terrified, as most people would be. Samira at first doesn't want Eric following her around, but as it is, he's already in a strange place, being from England. And with all the chaos happening, he's extra vulnerable, and it's understandable that he doesn't want to be alone. I'd want to go team up with somebody too. Samira senses this, and eventually she lets him tag along. And as I had hoped, Lupita Nyong'o steals the show here, in my opinion. I just love her, I have to say. Just so much potential, and I really can't wait to see what she does next. So as I said a couple of times, she's terminally ill, and she's just trying to get through these final days of her life. She misses her dad, and she just wants to go to the pizza place that they used to go to together just one last time. She's a bit grumpy because of, the hand that she was dealt, but, she's got a big heart under all that. And when Eric learns about her illness, he wants to help her get to the pizza place, after he learns how important it is to her. So once everyone learns that the aliens are drawing the sound, the dialogue slows down to whispers or just almost no sound at all, just like the first two films. And there are some great scenes here where Lupita Nyong'o and Joseph Quinn do some great physical acting with no dialogue, and it's surprisingly effective. There's one scene in particular that was pretty, I gotta say, it was beautiful. I heard people behind me in the theater crying, and I wasn't far off myself. I'm not going to pretend that I wasn't. And really, my favorite part of this movie was, in this political divide that we have been seeing here in the U.S. especially, seeing people bond and show compassion to complete strangers was pretty refreshing to see. I remember a time, not that long ago at all, when that was a thing, and I wanted to come back. So if you were to ask the question, did this movie need to exist? Like I said earlier, no, it kind of doesn't, but it's well done, very heartfelt and emotional, and it's worth a watch. Especially if you're a fan of the first two, or just Michael Sarnoski if you loved Pig. I'm giving Quiet Place a day one a 7 out of 10. And if you saw it, let me know what you thought and how you think it compares to the first two films. Cheers, guys.